Okay, so now let's look at simply multiplying and dividing some rational expressions and leaving our answers in factored form if possible. So we're going to just look to simplify. These are the skills that will help us with graphing rational functions. So for A, we can factor, let's see here, this would be x minus 8 and x plus 1. And then I have a 4x cubed. That's for the numerator. The denominator, I have a 3x in common there, so that's going to be 3x. And then that would be leaving me with x minus 8, right? And over here, I'd have an x plus 1 and an x minus 1. And so that's my factored form, right? And in my factored form, I would know that x cannot be 0, x cannot be 8, and x cannot be plus or minus 1. All right, so that's the restrictions on the values of x because I don't want the denominator to be 0. Howsoever, if I'm going to now simplify this, I have this x, right, and this x cubed here that will reduce. I've got this x minus 8 and this x minus 8 that will reduce. And I have this x plus 1 and that x plus 1 that will reduce. So the simplified form is going to be 4x squared in the numerator because the 4 is left and I'm only going to be reducing one of the x's in the numerator. And so I have 4x squared, and then the denominator has a 3 times x minus 1. So this multiplication, when I do it, will simplify to be 4x squared over 3x minus 1. But I have to remember that x is not going to be 0, x is not going to be 8, x is not going to be positive or negative 1, because those were the restrictions on the values of x from the start. Okay. Let's look to our next one. So we have 4x squared minus 1. So the numerator is going to be 2x minus 1 times 2x plus 1. It's a difference of squares. And then we have denominator of, I could factor out a 6. So I'll just factor out a 6 for now. And that's going to be 6 times x squared plus 3x minus 8. Then I have division that I can think about as multiplying by the reciprocal. So I'm going to go ahead and factor out a 3 out of the denominator and go ahead and adjust to multiplication. So that's going to give me 3 times x squared plus x minus 12. All right, and then I'll have 2x squared minus 5x minus 3. Okay. So there I have my work, and now I'll factor further. The division has changed to multiplication because I am going to be multiplying by the reciprocal of this, which is the net effect of division. So let's see if we can factor further. So numerator 2x minus 1 times 3 times, this would be x plus 4 times x minus 3. And then in the denominator, I have a 6. Let's see here, two numbers um, that, uh, let's see, if I factor out a 6, that shouldn't be a 8, that should be a 4, because 6 times 4 is negative 24. So x squared plus 3x minus 4, this would be x plus 4 times x minus 3. And 2x squared minus 5x minus 3. Let's see here. If I let that be 2x and I let this be x, then if this is negative 3 and that is positive 1, that gives me 2x times x is 2x squared. 2x times negative 3 is negative 6x, plus 1x is negative 5x. 1 times negative 3 is negative 3, so I've got my factored form. And then we look to see that will this reduce, and the answer is yes. Looks like I forgot one of my factors up the top. Got to be careful with what we're doing for our work. That'll happen when you do your work. Right, so we have 2x minus 1, 2x plus 1, 3, x plus 4, x minus 3. So 2x plus 1 and 2x plus 1 common factor. X minus 3 and x minus 3 common factor. Then we come over here, x plus 4 and x plus 4, that's a common factor, and so I'm left with what's not crossed out here. Now, it is important to note that I'm going to keep my initial restriction if I was thinking about domain, and that is that x could not be negative 4, x could not be 3, x could not be negative 1/2, and that takes care of any of the denominator being 0, so that'll be my domain restrictions if I was playing with domain. But the simplified form of this, if we continue through, we have 3 and a 6, so that'll reduce. So I'm going to have 2x minus 1 in the numerator, and I'm going to have 2 times x minus 3 in the denominator, and that would be my simplified form. So not too bad. Okay, if I wanted to, I could use some other sources to check my work to see if I've done it correctly. But these are the skills that we expect you to have for an advanced mathematics course to make evaluating things much simpler. All right. Thank you for your time. Be sure to ask questions for clarification as needed.